Focus. Today I'm going to talk about focus, give you a definition of focus, and then give you several examples of how I think you can employ the skill or the mental skill of focusing with some examples of activities that you can do that you may already be doing. Okay, what is the definition of focus? My definition of focus is the ability to concentrate and have a single-minded viewpoint on the particular task at hand. A lot of different words there. You can get jumbled and maybe discouraged by listening to that definition. Another way of saying it is, if I want to do a math problem and I have all of these other things going on, which I'm going to call distractions. I could have the television, I could have the radio, I could have an MP3 player, I could have the light right there, I could have this particular knob. All of those things could be distractions. If I want to focus on doing that math problem, maybe I've got a different goal in mind, and I'm going to use that later on to describe how you can use goals to help you focus. But right now I'll just shoot right to, we'll have a goal in mind, so that will help me focus on this other particular area of doing a math problem. Now let's say the math problem is several problems where it's homework, and again I'm going to use that, I want to, as an example of a process goal, doing the math problem, focused on an outcome goal, to show you how I can, be focused in this particular area there for the longer term, a longer event. If I have the goal of getting an A in math, and I know these math problems are going to help me get the grade that I want to get, I'm going to have all of these little short-term goals, i.e. the problems that are on that worksheet, or the lesson that the teacher gave me, or the project that the professor gave me, and I will use my long-term goal or vision or outcome to keep me directly focused right now on the task at hand. Let's use a particular sporting event or a competition or something like that, and perhaps you went over, this is what we used to do when I was in high school, and this is the way that I think he helped keep us focused. He would call it the ice cream move of the week. Now, call it what you want to. Maybe it was, you can use a different terminology, but for us, we knew if we executed that skill in the competition on the weekend, we were going to be able to get a free coupon for ice cream by the end of at the end of the school year. Can you imagine what that did? I started wrestling as a 14-year-old. As a 14-year-old, man, that was like tangible evidence. I was going to get to grab that ice cream. So going back to the focus, because we were the focus of the skills that week, because my coach, said, this is the move, this is the ice cream move of the week, you're going to get this if you are able to do that. So immediately, as soon as those words came out of his mouth, our vision and our minds and our brains were focused on trying to learn that particular skill through X amount of repetitions, through working through it, through trying it, through seeing what works. When the guy does this, the person does that, and when she does this, she does that. All through the week, I was focused on that particular skill, so at the end of the week, we could actually, try to do what we are set out to do. Now, what happens when you focus? Because we were so focused, and I was so focused on the ice cream move of the week, it was very difficult for me to focus on my nervousness. It was very difficult for me to focus on the so-called competition stress. It was very difficult for me to focus on what the wrestler's record was. It was very difficult for me to focus on how strong the wrestler was. My focus was particularly on the ice cream move of the week. That's just an example. Of course, all of those other examples that I just gave you can shift and or distract you from your focus. So if we go back to that original explanation or definition of a focus, is what the ability to focus on, the ability to think about, the ability to keep your mind on a particular task at hand. Now if I'm in a wrestling match or a track meet or whatever, and I focus on the other athletes, that isn't the task at hand. But however, because I am focused on the other athlete, now it is very difficult for me to accomplish my task. Can you see how those two can kind of work in hand? Here are some examples, and I think I just gave you 1, 2, or 3. Here are some other examples, and I'll start off with the goals. If the long-term goal or the outcome goal is to get a particular grade, let's call it an academic goal, or is to get a medal, let's call it an athletic goal, or it is to get a job, let's call it a career type of goal. If you can have that as the bigger, broader goal, now you can set all of these minor goals, micro goals some people call them. Maybe that's the macro goal, the bigger overall goal, and all these little goals leading up to it are the micro goals. If you can stair step meaning there's a rung on a ladder and you're climbing up the ladder, or stairs on a step, steps on a stair, climbing up the steps. If you can put one goal that leads into the next goal, that leads into the next goal, that leads into the next goal, it is very easy, I say, to keep a single focus, because each time you achieve one of those goals, man, guess what happens? You start to get more confidence in yourself, and you start to create a little bit more momentum. Every step on the rung of the ladder, or steps that you go up, you start feeling better about yourself, and you get a little more vested and motivated. Goal setting is one way to keep your particular focus at hand. The other way is to have imagery or mental rehearsal, or what's another word for it? Mental rehearsal, imagery, and visualization. All of those three things are going to help you focus on your final objective and or your goal. Now, how is that going to work? Well, if I have the goal in mind of executing the ice cream move of the week, I can actually practice the moves during practice. I can practice the moves outside of practice in my mind. I can actually visualize what it's going to feel like to taste that ice cream, what it's going to feel like to get that reward, what it's going to feel like to go through the motion of executing a skill. If I execute the skill in a match, man, I feel good about myself now, maybe because I executed the skill, so there's some satisfaction going on and a sense of accomplishment. And B, if I have that so-called carrot and stick, you know, the carrot is the reward at the end. If I can put that tangible reward at the end, and that's what my coach did, and I thought it was, a fantastic deal. What a lot of competitions do, they give you the reward of a big trophy or something like that, or maybe get the outstanding wrestler award. So imagery and visualization and mental rehearsal are another way that you can keep a single-minded focus on the task at hand. The third way that I'm going to sort of talk about is self-talk. And again, self-talk is the ability to talk to yourself and feed yourself whatever type of information that you want. I'm going to focus on positive self-talk, because I think in that way you can prime yourself for success. You can psych yourself up for success. You can get yourself to believe in the unbelievable. Again, we're talking about focus and ways and means in which you can enhance or increase or fortify your focus. The last one that we talked about was the self-talk. Let me see, what examples did we use so far? We used an academic goal. Let's use an academic one. I think we did that. We'll go back to that. If we want to do well on the SAT, and that's the entrance exams for a lot of schools in college, and the ACT is another one. If we want to do well on that, how can we use self-talk to prepare us to take the SAT? If I've done all of these other things that I've talked about, visualization, you actually see yourself going to the test and doing well. Setting a goal. The goal is to do well in all of your classes leading up to that point. Those are micro goals, and then you've got maybe even smaller goals than that. Self-talk is the ability to, I've performed well in the past and I shall perform well in the future. I'm going to believe in myself because I know if I do the right things and I have a stair-step fashion in terms of really small goals leading up to the bigger goal at the end, I will be able to do so. Another way that you can self-talk is this. Let's say there's SAT classes or something like that, or there's SAT books. You can tell yourself, you know what, I know those can be a challenge to sit through those classes, but you know what, I'm going to see whatever I can do to get in those classes so that I can prepare myself so that I can do well. You know what, reading those books is a challenge and it's going to be a little bit more work, but I believe if I read through those books, I can have a better chance in excelling. So you can kind of phrase it however you want it to, but I'm suggesting that you can also use language skills to help prepare you and focus on the goals that you want to achieve. Again, we're talking about focus, and I just went through 3 or 4 different ways in which you can help increase your focus. The last 3 that I talked about were visualization or imagery or mental rehearsal, self-talk, focus. Remember, you can find out more information like this at youtube.com, Coach Shannon, Coach Shannon Talks.